Ice. Abundant on Earth and ordinary in our daily lives, yet a rising form of expression and art nowadays. One of London's most popular bars is entirely made out of it.
There's not many other places here where you can be at -5 degrees in the centre of town. So what we're really looking at is trying to create a unique experience for people, I think. Is ice art getting more or less popular? I mean, we're often asked that. People, we've been here for quite a long time now. Ice Hotel has been around for a quarter of a century. And what we're seeing is, it's often in trends, is it more or less popular, but the experience, the idea of wanting to do something new with your time rather than just go to a restaurant or pub, that is definitely increasing. We're an independent company, but we work directly with Ice Hotel because they are the guys with the ice. They are based in northern Sweden in a village called Jakobsberg, which is 200 kilometers above the Arctic Circle. And Ice Hotel itself is built on the banks of the Torne River, which is where all of our ice is harvested from. Ice Hotel team, they cut about 500 tons of ice out of the river every year. We take about 40 tons of that to build the ice bar. We're trying to vary up the theme based on what we had in the previous years. This year we've gone with what we call Wild in the City, and it's a combination of wild animals, but here in the centre of London. We work with a creative team every year of ice designers and ice builders and artists. So they're coming in. A lot of the work is done in Sweden in the massive warehouses there and brought over here. But then we spend a whole week, 7 days, finishing and shaping the ice, polishing it, getting the sculpture things correct. And that's a team of about 6 to 7 people every year. It takes them a week to do that, pretty much full time. So ice art is not a permanent form of art, but it is a form of art that's all about direct engagement with the audience in many ways. So you're actually, experientially, you're inside the art. In Ice Hotel, you're literally sleeping inside the art. And it's that kind of moment that the artist's looking to create for you. It's very much a two-way dialogue with the audience and creating that kind of an experience. For some artists, the challenge is all about that impermanence of the form. It's not going to be there forever, and that's part of the statement in itself. But as an artist, they're going to want to move on, change, develop their own practice, and ice is an absolutely amazing thing for that because you can always come to it again.
Ice is making its way on the special event scene. But what is the work that lies behind an ice sculpture? PST Ice Art in Newchapel is made up of a skillful and creative team that has been carrying on the business for several years.
The whole process starts by, by creating the ice. We have the special machines that, make the ice blocks. We fill them with water, and then we put these pumps that make the water circulate all the time, and that helps breaks the bubbles of oxygen. So when the ice freezes, it's all clear. So the machine takes roughly 3 to 5 days to make a block. So once the block is ready, we take them out using different tools. We store them into the freezer, and from then on we start carving it by hand, or we use the CNC machine, which depends of the job we are doing. There are many tools that we use: chisels, chainsaw, sander, drills. We have to follow a drawing because the client is very precise of what they want. But also, when we sculpt, we put into the sculpture a bit of our own touch. So let's say if I have to do a wall, for example, well, I have to do the wall in a certain pose and a certain position. But that doesn't mean that I cannot put the details that I want into it. I never work alone because I have the designer, for example, which helps me and gives me the shapes and the design, the drawings of what I have to do.
I'm actually responsible of basically putting on paper, on image, whatever the client is asking, to actually bring the concept from idea, then paper, and then to the actualized sculptures. Sometimes it's difficult because the client doesn't really understand the limits of ice, which are a lot, but as well sometimes doesn't really know what you can get the best using ice. So once all these things come together, that is where the sculpture come out, and it comes out brilliantly, usually. So I am an artist myself, and it hasn't become any more a necessity to be in a freezer. It's more, I'm more concentrated on the techie part than the business of the business. With ice is that, yes, it's true that it melts, so it disappears. But if you notice, on standard sculptures, what happens is because it melts, kind of the sculpture itself evolves during the process. So it's like something that you do the beginning of a job, the beginning of the actual piece of art, and then you let it melt, and then temperature does its own course.
So what is it that brings an artist to continue sculpting?
This is the beauty of it, that you do something just that gives an impact for a day, or let's say 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever. And after it melts, because it's water, frozen water. But even if it doesn't, stay in a gallery for a long time, it still stays in the mind of the people. Oh, do you remember the ice sculpture? We had fun, or do you remember how that looked? And they have pictures. But it's just it's the way ice it is, I guess.
Once the sculpture is done, wrapped up and stored, after a few days it starts its journey towards the destined location.
Once the sculpture is done, you have to connect the tubing. And this is for when the water drains.
The tension is tangible, but the delivery and the setup need to be done on time.
To be honest, it's the art. It's seeing something really beautiful and then knowing that this is the only one that's ever going to exist. And when people see it, they're going to be astonished, and they're going to really like it. The effect it gives to a party is amazing. And it's just seeing the smile on people's faces really makes you happy and proud of your work in the end of the day.
Ice doesn't have a future. All it has is its past and fleeting present. It lives in the crystallized memories that people preserve of it. So in its own way, it is everlasting.